Did I do technology acceptance models with you guys? I'll look one up and you can tell me. And then we'll go back to the square and stuff like that. Um, that might help if I learn how to spell today. These actually have a lot of value to them. And they're pretty straightforward and easy to follow, and they're a good guide to live by. It's kind of like, uh, let's say it this way. If you were, if you're Christian and you live by the Bible, you read you live a righteous life, okay, according to the Christian faith. If you are not Christian, even if you're atheist and you live by the components of the Bible, like the rules of the Bible, the Ten Commandments and various things like that, you can lead a good life. Now, here's the thing. These tools are kind of like that. You don't have to necessarily use them all the time. You just have to have them in your mind all the time, and you kind of have to live by them to some extent. And this model is probably the easiest out of all of them to remember. And this is because this is closer to what the chapter is. I want to open that in a new link. You guys see what I'm doing? There. This right here, can you see that? Am I still sharing? Okay.
Yes.
Sweet. So you adopt a piece of technology, or you create a web page, or you create an application. And what technology acceptance model says is that a person's perceived, like someone takes a look at this technology or this software, and their perceived usefulness and their perceived ease of use has a direct impact on their attitude towards using it and the behavioral intention to use that technology. So basically, if they don't feel that it's useful or they don't feel that it's easy to use, they're going to fight tooth and nail not to use it, or they're not going to use it at all. Have you guys ever had anything like that? Have you ever had something that you didn't see it as useful, so you didn't use it? Yeah, SAP, exactly. Or it doesn't seem real easy to use, so you don't use it, like a Mac. I'll throw my zing back at you. Anyway, Macs are easy to what? Anyway, Macs are easy if you're used to them. There's a learning curve with Macs. If you're an individual that all you work on is a Mac, then you hate PCs. And if you're an individual that all you did is work on a Mac, that just means you don't understand PC. Or if you work on nothing but PCs and you don't understand Macs is the problem. Because Macintosh, I hate to say it, is a good computer. I don't really hate to say it. But anyway, this is a user-centric focused acceptance model, okay? So you're concerned what the end user or what the stakeholders in that are considering and whether or not they're going to utilize that technology. And some of that, if you think about perceived ease of use, some of that could be accessibility, having voiceover and stuff like that in it, right? So you got to kind of watch that. The other ones that exist are this one. He made it again. I want to find. Well, I didn't want to find like a German version. And this model is going back to what this part of the chapter is, where they're talking about how fit affects performance and well-being. Task technology fit is more or less the business-centric view of technology and why we choose it, and basically that we're going to force you to use it. Because we're going to adopt technology based on, does it fit the task? And if it does fit the task, right? So you end up with this, where you have the task characteristics, the technology characteristics, does the technology fit the task, and then the performance impacts and the utilization of it. You're not taking into consideration a whole lot at all about the end user as much. You see where I'm saying that? This is more business centric in the fact that SAP is the biggest, baddest thing around, therefore I'm adopting it. Yeah, utilization suffers a little bit, but the performance impacts are way up. The task characteristics and the technology characteristics all together mesh really well and greatly improve efficiency in business processes. And I can explain it that way. Make sense? Well, there's a better model than that. And the better model takes you a step further than the two of those. And power, performance, and perception. And I think the article's not P-pound, P3. And the P3 model, which I don't know if I can find it. I might have to actually look for that journal article for it. So let me see. Might be power, performance. There, let's see. This isn't the person, but they probably got this from the other person. Basically, the P3 model, which it's not showing it on here. Dillon and Morris, I believe, are the ones that created this theory. Right there. That's the one. That's the ticket. But this one is different in, let's see if I can find their image, because they're different in the fact that they're still going to take into consideration the perception component is, and I don't see it. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. And I don't see the completed one. So that's not helping me. Anyway, at the end of the day, it's a map. And this one, what you end up having is you have the same perception where it's ease of use and usefulness. That's one component. Then you have the task technology fit, which is another component. And you also add the performance and power of the technology or the software. Okay. So now all of a sudden, you're taking all things into consideration. You're taking the business into consideration and their needs and the task and the technology that fits that task, but you're also taking into consideration your end users. Now, how does that tie together? Well, you have companies like Dow and other major organizations that actually pay to have customized forms in that in SAP or in Oracle. They make it a more user-friendly software for many of the people in the organization and stuff. So that is really like taking this concept that they talk about in the textbook of how fit affects performance and well-being, etc., and usability and all that stuff, and likelihood to use is a bigger issue than some of this because it doesn't pay to adopt technology that no one's going to use. But at the end of the day, yeah, these are actual social theories that are based off of behavioral intent to use theories in psychology and sociology. And they came up with this concept and tied it together with technology. And it was a really good fit. They did a very good job at it, actually. So hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much by that whole conversation. And hopefully that conversation had value for you. Or that short, short, relatively speaking, lecture about the technology acceptance models. So let's see. I'm done with that. We're good. Just making sure I have everything done that needed to be. And by the way, they keep adding and adding and adding to the original technology acceptance model because they want to get more nitpicky about it. But at the end of the day, it still boils down to perceived usefulness and perceived ease of use. So, and that's what guides our intent on whether or not to use it. If you think about your car, there are certain features on a car that you may never use just because they're more difficult to use or handle or even set up than, say, your own cell phone. There's certain things on your computer that you'll never use because, well, it's just easier to use your cell phone for some of those things. And there are many things on like your, well, let's take a graphing calculator, for instance. How many of you actually have an app on your phone to use as a graphic calculator versus actually buying a graphic calculator? And on either side of that coin, why did you choose that? Right? And you might fall more on the technology fit aspect of that. That, okay, well, the calculator is a single piece and it fits the needs, right? So you're just going to use the calculator. Where it becomes a little more problematic when you're using your cell phone because you're sitting there doing your math and stuff and text messages pop up and stuff like that, things that can disrupt your flow. Follow me? Also, some of the programs, some of the stuff on those calculators is actually not that easily or intuitively accomplished like the calculator, the way it's set up. So if I was to, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone, so give me a second. Okay, so this is my calculator on my phone, right? There's a button right here that I can push, and that turns it sideways. Okay, well, there you go. And it has some statistical analysis calculator on the side. And then if I hit this button, this gives me the ability to, do quick measurement comparisons and stuff. So if I want to go acres to square meters or acres to miles or whatever, I can get a quick calculation. I use that feature a lot on my phone, believe it or not, especially when you're cooking or something, or you need a specific amount of like ounces to gallons for mixing your fuel and oil for like your weed whip or what have you. So I do use those tools, and I wouldn't go grab a calculator because I always have my phone on me, but I don't have a calculator. So if I don't grab a calculator for that, why would I ever use a calculator, right? To me, it fits the task, it's easy to use, and it's definitely useful. So that works for me, but for some of you, it might not. Follow me? You remember the whole conversation about Shift Window S? You remember that, where I can do that? Yeah, some of you use that, and I never did. Yeah, it doesn't work for you because you got a Mac. Why doesn't it work for you? Control Shift S? Control Shift S? Do what did you do? I did Shift the window S. Wait, you were here for that, weren't you? That whole conversation that day? Ugh, this is I gotta get used to this because I've got a son that's coming through, and I know for a fact he's gonna hear me, but he's never gonna listen. So, um, I gotta have my energy drink. Sorry, you all know me. Um, it's watermelon lime. It's the drink that keeps on giving. It's a venom, but it's watermelon lime, and it's very good. I think it's my favorite flavor I've ever had. It's not really, it doesn't taste like, you know what it tastes like? Like the apple raspberry or cranberry that they have is like really harsh. This tastes like an apple Jolly Rancher. Bang and Rain type of person. Is that a brand? Anyway, you're getting me off on a tangent again. Don't do this to me. That's not nice. You know you can do this to me. So anyway, chapter 14 is a very important chapter for you guys to look at when you are doing your projects. If you didn't look at that yet, then you definitely want to look at that because it has a lot of, it's something I'm going to be looking for, if that makes sense. So if I go to weekly folders, what week was that in? Week 12? Where was the whole assignment? What week was that in? Week 11? The project part 2, I still have to do the project part 3, don't I? Yeah, I didn't put project part 3 out there yet. Um, so we're not done at this point. We have more to do, right? Because this was a multi-part project, and we're in week 13, correct? And in week 13, and by the way, if you don't have the text, I did provide the PowerPoints, remember, okay? And PERT, not a PERT analysis, part 3 of project. Part 3 of project, if I right click, not right click there, I'm going to right click here, open a new, move it over here. This week 12, we stopped at provide a storyboard of a complete business process for your company. What data is needed for your business? Look at this form, sample of data dictionary, sample of data specifications, use case. If you're not creating or using it, okay. So um, part 3 is going to be to, um, did I say wireframe up there? No, I didn't say wireframe. So this one you have to create or screenshots. If you chose technology, um, let's say it was a kiosk or something like that, I want to see screenshots of them. I want to see kind of what you're looking at, right? And then, because things that you're going to have to talk about are these use cases, are not use cases, these usability and technology acceptance and stuff like that. You're going to have to discuss this. Uh, so if you're creating a website for a business, then you got to have a wireframe or some type of prototype or visualization of what you're creating or what you're integrating. So if it's a piece of technology, I want to see what it is. I want to see how it's set up. I want to see, images of, let's say it's a different fax machine, or not fax machine. Let's say it's a copy machine that has multiple features. Show me the screen. It doesn't have a touch screen. I want to see how people are going to interact with this thing. Okay, because it's not as simple as just sending something to a printer, right? Those printers have other things associated with them anymore, especially if it's a photocopy or like a Xerox and you're using it as a printer that ties everyone together like a network-based printer. So, for screenshots is something that you use to integrate. And then discussion about usability, user experience, user acceptance from 3 perspectives. Okay. So from the 3 different perspectives that I talked about today, the task, technology fit, the technology acceptance model, and the P3, where would it fall, in each of those scenarios? You follow me? Where would it fall in each of those scenarios, right? So TAM, comma, TTF, and P3. Oh, 3. And I thought I had put them out there. Let me look. I may have actually put them out here at one point. I don't know if I had you guys do them in this class or if I put them in a different class. Give me 1 second. That's not it. 23. That's not it. 4. Go, all that good stuff. That's not it. I will find them and put them out here because I have them somewhere. Are they in my Google Drive? I want to find the articles so you actually have the articles to look at. For test technology fit and for technology acceptance model, you might be better off looking at Wikipedia in some ways because those articles can be long. Uh, Let me see if I can find it a different way. Yeah, so you could, this is building off of that. Yeah, this is where they started dealing with that aspect. So you see how long the articles can be. You might be better off going back and listening to this video if you're confused than trying to find those models. Technology acceptance model, though, uh, is going to be really easy to look up on uh, this Wikipedia. Okay, and this gives you a really straightforward point of view of it. And then the hard one to find usually is the power, performance, and perception. And that's not a real long article. So if I can find it, I'll throw that one out there. If I can find all three of them, I'll put them out there. I know I have them. So I'll put them out there because I think it would be helpful for you guys. Um, so back to what I was doing. I thought I put them out here, but it might have been a different class. Oh, you know what? I bet you it was a different class. Let me look. I think I know where I put them. I just wrote that song. It's going to be good. It's going to be a hit. I have a cramp in my ribs that I cannot get rid of. It hurts. Getting old. Aren't I? Don't answer that question. Quan. Bear with me 1 second. Well, or a minute or 2 minutes. Because I know I have it somewhere. Articles. Use case diagram. Dig deeper, so that's not it. Let's see. Wait a second. Was that in there? Bear with me. Ah, yes, I do have it. I'm going to copy this and send it over to you guys. I'm going to copy and I'm going to move that to, 3400 if I can find it in the list. I found them, so they should be able to help you guys right there. And I'm going to browse, and I want those in week 13. So that one's one. So I think that was all that. Then P3, I'm going to copy that. The features of this world and the technology that we have makes life so easy. See, that's the thing. When I said that it is this class and the other class are so related, I do technology acceptance models the first semester I teach MIS 1110, the freshman class. I start talking about these models because they are a powerful tool to use to help you determine whether or not you actually adopt technology. And why would you choose not to adopt technology? Well, it's not that you're not going to adopt technology, but you might not adopt a specific technology if you were to look at it from one of these models. Okay. You already did use case. Is an as-is workflow diagram a requirement? I'm going to throw this out there too. Because did I make you guys do an as-is diagram? I think I did. I'm going to copy this. Not there. I'm going to copy it to, just to make sure. These are just tools to help you. And there's that. Okay, so now in our folder, you should now, if I was to, well, Okay, so that info is provided. Now, on the other end of things, uh, the human-computer interaction, design effective on-screen dialogue for human-computer interaction, which that's GUI, right? We actually changed what we called it. A long time ago, everything was referred to as GUI, graphical user interface. But we're no longer just concerned with that graphical interface that we look at. We're actually concerned with how people interact with that graphical interface. And there are multiple ways that you can work with a graphical interface. For instance, a touch screen, right? What are the advantages to a touch screen? A trackball, just buttons that you click and stuff, or a keyboard and a mouse, or maybe it's voice driven, right? All kinds of different things of that nature. There are different ways to interact with these the on-screen dialogue or what have you anymore. So, um, and then basically I'm going to copy this because some of you probably don't have the text still. Am I correct when I say that? Oh, it doesn't let me paste it that way. Are you kidding me? Well, you know what? There's ways around everything. There. So if I do this and I copy. Now let's see if it lets me. Ah, there we go. These are things that I want you to think about in this section, right? So if you're creating a website or a prototype or a wireframe or anything of that nature, then some of these will apply, well, almost all of these apply to you. If you're not creating something and you're adopting something else, some of these still you have to consider, right? Because we have to be concerned with the importance of end user feedback. You know, how are you going to get that information, right? Have you identified who the stakeholders would be in integrating that software? And if you have, how are you going to compare what they currently do and whether or not the technology you're looking at integrating can solve that same business process, right? And what's the likelihood that they're going to accept it? Is it easy to use? Now, is it easy to use just to you? How are you describing? How are you defining this, right? So these are things that you have to think about. You don't just jump into this stuff. And why am I always correct? So if you already started designing the site, can I just screenshot it? Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry, I missed some of those because I'm off doing things on other screens. So now, design effective on-screen dialogue if you're creating an application or a website. That's important. If you're creating a website design, this actually might be quite helpful for you in describing what's going on. Okay, color, type, imagery, navigation, F-shaped pattern for reading, visual hierarchy, content, grid-based layout, load time, mobile friendly. That right there would be extremely valuable for you to include information from in your project. So on a different screen, I am going to right click, open a new tab, move it over. I am going to add a web link. Now, here's the thing. Even though these are web design principles, understand something. It's not just web design principles. They say it's web design principles, but what it really is it's a general, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, it is actually a set of standards that you should actually take into consideration for any software or any web page that you're designing. Okay? If you think about the things that, you know, you do on a web design, well, actually, let me ask you a question. And I want to see how many people actually answer this in our chat. Okay? Um, how many programs do you use these days that have a web-based version? Do you guys all use software that has a web-based version? Yeah. So all of a sudden, these become serious issues just about for any application or any program, correct? I don't know if you guys have noticed, like with MIS, and like I had an advisory council meeting last week, and the advisory council is made up of business professionals and alumni and stuff that, you know, help guide us. They don't tell us what to do, but they give us ideas and they listen to our ideas and say if we're on the right path or, you know, what's going to get our students employed in that. And the one thing that actually came out in our meeting was the fact that MIS is so widely, um, it's such a broad topic in so many ways that it hits so many different areas. And web design is another area. But the thing is all the tools and all the principles that you learn in MIS, you can use in so many different ways all over the board. You know, project management is a staple for MIS. It's one of the main, between that and systems analysis and design, those are two of the key components of an MIS degree. And failure to be able to do these things can make or break you. Well, if you think about it, those same tools hit every field, right? Especially with technology these days. So it makes sense to pay attention to stuff like that. Okay, realize that it's not just MIS that uses these tools, but guess what? Web design has tools that MIS should be concerned with too. Accounting has things that MIS should be concerned with too. Cybersecurity, definitely, right? Um, so anyway, that's that's kind of the situation that you're in. This website here is another one that gives you ideas, but they actually show you images as examples. So that's always good. Uh, the one thing that I will tell you with web design, so you start looking at web design, that's going to give you a lot more artistic freedom if it's an informational website as opposed to a web application. Okay. You would not want to create a web application that looks like this. You guys still see my screen over there? Just want to make sure. Okay. You know, you don't want to create a web application that would look like this. That's too busy. That's not, you know, easily accessible. But if you're selling art or something of that nature, which what was that thing last week? What was that? What was that thing that we looked at? Yeah, NFTs, you know. If I had a website that was doing NFTs, I think I would actually do a little, what was the website for that? Because I would do a little better job selling it. The OpenSea, I would do a little bit better job. I would do a little bit better job. Uh, I would do a little bit better job representing this. I would actually make it quite a bit more reasonable I mean, what are you? Wow, man, now this is better. I mean, this is a lot better. I like that. That'd make a good tattoo. So would that. Anyway, so anyway, I call them person back. Anyway, if I was doing this as an e-commerce, now here's the thing. This is an e-commerce website. It's representing a business. So what do I follow? You know, this, if I looked at this as test technology fit, is this easy to find what you're looking for? Is it easily usable? Yeah. Does it look good? Not really. Could I make this look? You might see some bad stuff on that page. Uh, okay, well, I'm not going to scroll any further down then. Uh, 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 so I'll just leave it right where it's at. Thank you. Thank you for the warning. So anyway, you know, I would do something different with this actually. I would probably make this a little more artistic and more appealing for what I'm selling. Okay. This is one of those situations where people just use a template or something of that nature. And I'm not a huge fan of templates, and I think you're going to see them go away. For years and years and years, we used templates, and then we went away from templates because, well, how do you sell yourself? You sell yourself by being different, right? You don't sell yourself by looking the same as everyone else. So all of a sudden, you know, we're back in this template world, and I actually think that you're going to see people trying to differentiate themselves from other uh, sites and other businesses and everything else. I've got a strong feeling. And the reason I have such a strong feeling is because the number of web developer positions has been increasing greatly. The number of positions for graphic design artists and stuff like that has been increasing greatly. Please don't judge my bootstrap template. It's a prototype, I swear. I am okay with that. I am totally okay with using templates and stuff like that. I am totally okay with, I think I took us out here, didn't I? Class, did I take us to Wix.com? Okay, so I'm totally okay with doing something like this, right? Um, there's no reason why we can't. There's no reason we can't use something like this to create a prototype. There's no reason I can't use this to create a prototype of an application. Okay, because they give you forms, they give you tools and different things like that. Forms and submissions. They give me the ability to move forms and stuff onto my site and stuff. So if that's the case, why can't we use that as a tool to build off of? Follow me? So if I want to edit my site, for instance, it's a lot easier to do it this way than to try to do it in Word, where you're moving boxes and stuff. It's not real difficult out here, and you can get a good look. I mean, creating a form that allows people to input their message, so when you hit submit, by the way, that right there is one of the biggest tips I can give you in web design. Always use a form where people can send an email to you. Do not put a link, because if you're putting a link on there, like your email address, when they click it, it's automatically going to assume that they're using Microsoft Outlook. And if they're not, it's not going to open up Outlook. It's just going to do whatever. So I don't like that. If you're going to ask patrons for feedback and stuff, always use a form. Back in the day, this took a lot of programming for me to create. Someone else made it for you. Okay. As you go through this, you know, there's a lot of different things. You know, book a class. Well, what's this look like? Well, if it looks like this right here, now I'm looking at a different way of selling things, right? It's not your typical look as far as a Um, yeah, good prices. Um, it's not your typical layout for an e-commerce that we're used to these days, so maybe that would work. The only problem is you would have more and more scrolling with more things that you have. And I will tell you that you should minimize scrolling. One of the problems with SAP is that if you don't scroll, and anyone that's in SAP right now or ERP class, you might be able to tell people this, or if you've taken it, you'd be able to say this. A lot of times you can't find a button because you got to scroll to find it. You know, it looks like everything fits on the screen perfectly, and the scroll bar isn't really well visible. So some people don't scroll. Well, it's actually there. I can't find anything in SAB to be fair. Yeah, well, neither can I. But at the end of the day, yeah, the thing is those are things that actually are bad in web design and application design. The more scrolling you have, the worse off you are. It creates confusion. People don't see everything on one screen in an application that's, without, you can expect everything on one screen and then you hit next and it gives you the next set on a next screen. That's the way it should be laid out. If I had more stuff to list, I definitely wouldn't go with this style. Okay. Or I would group them. And there would be a box here for social studies, and all classes that went in social studies would be on that link, and it would take me to a page. When I click that, that would show me all of the options for social studies and so on. Okay. Um, so web design has a lot of useful things to pull into application design and vice versa, especially when you're doing web design, but you're trying to do it for e-commerce. Well, having an understanding of user acceptance and all that stuff, it goes a long ways. Okay. So I just wanted to throw all that out there. I think that's an important thing. You guys getting something out of this class? Has this been a good class?
I'd say so.
You wouldn't just inflate my ego now, would you?
Nah, never, Sanford.
Good, because I always look for your real feedback. I want to know, and I take it well. Take it on the chin. I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. Um, so anyway, yeah. Any other comments out there? You guys getting something from the course? Throw it out there in chat. I know you don't like talking. I left to put my food away. What? So I missed the last minute. Oh my God, you missed the best part of class. No, I was just asking if you guys were getting something from my class. Um, because beginning of the semester, I tell you guys that's the one thing I want you to get is something of value from my class, right? It's not just an A. It's an A because you actually gained something. I've already gained my value from this class. I don't understand what you even mean by that. So anything I give you now is just above and beyond what you thought you would get? Is that what you mean? I don't know. Anyone else have any comments? Gotcha. Okay. If you ever have an issue, make sure you contact me. I put this out there in, please say I didn't close that webpage. I didn't. Okay. So we were saying that we wanted to include this stuff. This, not so much. If you have a web page, you got to be careful. Even programs like Microsoft Office, when you hit help, they want to take you out to the web. you got to kind of be careful. It's not just formulate queries that permit users to search the web. That's not what we want. I'm taking that out. That's important if you're creating a website that is looking to help people find stuff, right? It might be something of value for maybe websites that like Wix. You know, you're not quite sure how to create something, so if I hit search, not only does it show me their help, but it will find other like things on the internet. You know, maybe other people's way of doing something in Wix or videos or something of that nature. Okay. Um, this is extremely important. What are the implications for designing e-commerce website? But if it's not designing a web or e-commerce website, or uh, implications of the software or technology being, what's the word I'm looking for? Integrated. Ah, okay. Okay, so the reason I'm putting that in there is I think it's important because I let you do multiple things, right? You could either create a website that was just informational, you could create a web app, you could adopt a piece of technology or software. Well, what are the human uh, computer interaction implications, right? Um, Is there special training that's going to be needed for the new technology that you're adopting? Who does that training? Is this one of those things where you train a trainer and that trainer trains everyone else? Because I've given you guys that speech before, right? Where, you know, I train Kayla how to do something. Kayla goes off and starts doing it and building her own bad habits. Then she has to train Garrett, and maybe if I'm lucky, she's also going to train Jessica. And then Jessica decides that, all of a sudden I need to use Jessica to train somebody. So she trains Jalen. Well, every time a new trainer or a new person starts training other people, you're picking up more bad habits potentially, right? So the implication being, well, if I'm integrating technology and it requires training, am I training the whole group at once or am I training a trainer? And if I'm training a trainer, is that their only job? Are they going to be training everybody, or is that trainer going to train two people? And those, you see what I'm saying? It's almost a never-ending thing. Um, uh, pyramid scheme. Well, not quite, because I'm not making money at it. If I could make money at it, I'd do it. You know, it is in a way because the further down in that pyramid you get, the less actual value you get from the training. Um, I'm not going to, Kayla, your question. So are we answering each number as a question? Or are we just integrating them into our system, then explaining it at the end? Um, Integrate it and explain it at the end if it's something you're creating. Now, if it's something that you are adopting, obviously the explanation can happen before the integration, right? Because you're not actually integrating, you're going to have to explain basically why you're accepting or why you're integrating this technology from a user standpoint and what that human computer interaction is going to look at. Oh, okay, makes sense. That's why I asked. Well, that's good. I'm glad you asked. Um, am I creating any other confusion, or is this uh, pretty straightforward so far? Okay. Because remember, the thing that happens with this project is that um, it wasn't just a project for it wasn't just a single one-time thing. This was a multi-component project, and we've added to it. And there's not going to be a whole lot more added, but it's important to understand that we had not put the whole thing out there in its complete form. So it's possible that you had this done, you had the second part done, but all of a sudden it's like, wait, what are we going to do? Am I done? Well, the answer to that question is no, you're not done because not everything was out there yet. So this is the new section that you're going to be doing. And this is going to be due, because this could be time consuming, I'm going to make this due at this point. Okay? And I'm going to make it worse some more points. And I'm going to allow submission, unlimited amount of submissions, and highest grade. That way, if you want to submit something just for me to look at, feel free. But I'm going to give you guys time to complete that. And next week, we're going to meet. And when I say we're going to meet, I'm going to be here. Okay? I'll be here. I'll have my camera on. If you have questions or anything, you can pop in, ask me questions. If for some reason you have nothing better to do, Garrett, feel free to come on and we'll just shoot the bull until other people are there. So, or you can choose not to do it and just go ahead and work on your own on that part of the project. I am giving you more time because I think this section of the project requires more time. When I say it requires more time, that means actually spend some time on this, because this is one of the areas that if you don't spend time on a project out there in the working world, you are potentially creating major problems down the road, if not immediately. Okay? So take this section seriously and go from there. Okay, so when you're done with this section, between the wireframe or the screenshots and all of your explanation and stuff, you're probably anywhere between, my guess would be anywhere between like 5 to 10 pages, depending on how many screenshots you have and stuff of that nature. Okay. Yes, and that's, remember, I qualified that by saying how many screenshots you have, how many images you have, because screenshots, so they're readable, have to be a certain size. If I, you can't put something in the size of a postage stamp and expect me to. Yeah, I know. First time I've ever given a page number. And the reason I did that is because this is a section I want detail. I want you to show that you've thought about this and stuff, because at the end of the day, understanding all of the process of systems analysis and design, the agile methodology, Scrum methodology, all that stuff, understanding project management, that's all awesome tools. But this is kind of where all of a sudden, all of these concepts that you use to get to this point can lose all of its value, because if you miss this, you have some serious potential backlash off of that, and you might have to go back quite a ways to fix it. So we used Agile when making my web app that I'm doing this project on. It made it so much easier. I agree. Agile works well. Depending on the size of the project, I think that when you look at Scrum on a small project, have you ever tried to, oh, what am I trying to, okay, so when you create a web page or when you create a database and you go through these normalization processes, one of the things that this reminds me of is that you can go so in depth on trying to normalize your data. You can go all the way out. I'm going to look it up real quick because uh, how many normal forms are there for data? And there are 6 normal forms, but we look at 4, but there are actually more than 6. I don't like the person that said 6 because there are more, but we don't ever look at them when we don't do them. There was actually somewhere around 10 or 11. But my thing is people stop at normalization when you get to like level 3 or maybe this one. Okay, most of the time databases stop here. And the reason is because it was a 24-hour hackathon. We did our 1 hour to 3 hour long sprints. Yeah, okay. So, but here's the thing. If you're in Scrum, what happens is almost the same concept. That's why I'm bringing up database. If you get normalized to level 3 and then you start going past that, let's say you go past this and you get out there to 6th level or what have you. What happens is you can almost go back to getting redundancy by trying to get rid of it. And Scrum in a small project reminds me of that, where you can make your small components of a project, especially of a very small project, you can almost make it longer than it has to be just by holding these extra little team meetings and everything else. You can stretch that project out beyond what it should be. Does it make sense? Kayla, did you have any experience like that? Was there ever a small project that you got involved on in Scrum where you're like, why are we doing these little team meetings and why did we break these up into sprints? It would have been easier to work as a single group. Different things like that, because sometimes just trying to do something because, well, it's a tool and it's this up and coming thing, so we're going to use it. It might have unintended consequences. Going past third normal form or this normal form, it might, it might have unintended consequences going further. Okay? Yes and no, our daily operations are as needed, so all we do is stand up and that's it. So, yeah, so, um, you know, and that's fine if that's the way they're using that. That's good. But for small projects, yeah. But for app dev, Agile is the best. And I agree. Unless it's an app that can be broken down, let's say it's an ERP system. An ERP system could be broken down into functional areas of business. And each one of those components can be finished at a different time. So you could technically probably pull a Scrum off in that type of app development as opposed to just a standard program. Just as an example. So, anyway, how did that all come up? Oh, no, the page number. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know how that all came up, but that was a good tangent. Every now and then, these tangents are very fruitful. And if I teach a class with the wrong book, my God, do they ever benefit? they left. They're like, wow, that was a good class. I'm like, yeah, it was. And then, yeah, too bad it wasn't our class. Um, so certain things, you'll know what belongs to your program. Okay. Design useful touchscreen interfaces for smartphones and tablets. If you're not designing it, my question for you is the technology that you have, does it have useful touchscreen interfaces for smartphones and tablets? Does it have a variety of user interfaces? Okay. Um, so every one of these things, just think about how you can tie it into what you've chosen. If you, as The Rock would say, if you smell what I'm cooking, give me an amen. You don't give me an amen, I'm marking you absent and taking 50% off your paper. Who's not here today anyway? Huh. Same person that wasn't here the other day. Okay. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's still one person that didn't put an amen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you don't believe it, amen, give me a oh yeah. There we go. I just always think about that in the movies. Can I get an amen? And it's like, hey, yeah, it's interesting. But I always forget. Maybe there's someone that just doesn't want to say that. So if you don't want to say that, say something else like rock. Um, so, uh, do you have any questions? No, nope. That's 2. That's 3. What did I eat today? I made homemade chili mac and cheese from a recipe, and it's very good. And I'm going to go home and have some more later. But I didn't get to eat with my wife and my son because I had to teach. So I guess I could have eaten with them, but I wanted to come to my office to teach. So, nah, don't be sorry. I get paid for this. I love doing this, actually. What do they say? If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. So I'm almost there. No, 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 no. It's true. It's true. If you love your job so much that it's not really a job, it's just something you enjoy doing. Um, you know, this job has some, because of the fact that I'm also administration, there are some aspects of this job that can sometimes take a toll, but not usually. As far as the interaction with the students and developing things, it's really cool. By the way, just so you guys know, I'm always looking at changing things, developing things, and all that stuff, but I just got the approval to create a graphic and web development, like digital graphic design and web development program here at Northwood. And I'm tying in with our media services. And not only are we going to do that program, we're also going to offer certifications in certain media. So, yeah, I think it's great. you know, uh, it's probably a year out, but I think it's great. I've got a lot of the background work done already because I went above and beyond in asking them about it by doing a lot of stuff. So might have to switch to that. Well, Garrett, one of the reasons I did it is, when we look at stuff like human interaction and all that stuff, there are so many students that love to flex their creative muscle. Why do you say this? It's too late for me to change. You can come back. Nerd at Kayla. Uh, Might have to switch to that forever learner. Hey, I fully understand the forever learning. Um, but the thing is, um, there, I've heard several students at Northwood in like MIS and cybersecurity and that have said that they wish there was something more creative to do in technology, like web development. And I'm like, well, yeah, I understand, web design versus web development. Graphic design, well, not just drawing pictures, but, the digital graphic design, including a class on like Adobe Premiere or something like that for video editing, a course on um, uh, HTML5 or something like that for some animation, or even other animation software of some sort. Back in the day it was Flash, now it's HTML5 and other things, including um, uh, Illustrator and Photoshop, and possibly even InDesign. And then the other thing that's going to be tied into that is international commerce. International commerce. So um, it's potentially yeah, it's going to be cool. And there's even talk that it could be a 3-year bachelor program. I doubt that'll happen, but it'll probably be a 4-year. And it's going to be a BS degree. Not bullshit. BS, as in Bachelor of Science. And the Bachelor of Science is also something I'm trying to change MIS to, because it really should be. So I listen to people. Gives me ideas. Gives us the ability to grow, attract different students and more students. How many of you would have liked something more creative to do? Northwood, don't get me wrong, a business school is awesome. And what's really cool about it is when we take like web development and digital graphic design and we tie that in with a business background instead of an art background. Because a lot of schools are doing it from the communication or art perspective. When you tie it into the business perspective, there's a lot more backbone to it. So, so yeah, it's stuff that I listen to and I get feedback from people and it gives me ideas, and this would kind of round off our technology area for right now, where we would have some kind of like a flavor for everybody, all the way from, managerial to design or creativity to technical, like highly technical, like computer science. And then another thing about that was senior project I'm looking at changing. And I'm going to toss it out at you guys. Why not? Interdisciplinary senior project where, if you're a computer science major, your senior project, you're going to also be working with MIS majors and cybersecurity majors. And maybe even if we have this other program, you're going to be working with graphic and web design majors to complete your project, where you have to communicate back and forth with people from different backgrounds, basically, which is what you're going to have to do out there in the business world, right? If you're writing an application, well, who's in charge of actually the user interface? Is it the programmer? Programmers are not usually the ones creating the interface. Most of the time, when you get somebody designing an interface, you're hiring somebody that has some type of design background, whether it be web design or something of that nature, or someone with communication background. So But the interdisciplinary approach to a project, instead of just MIS students working with MIS students or computer science working with computer science, taking people from multiple majors, throwing them into a single cohesive group that they work together to accomplish something major. What do you think of that? Wow. Sounds interesting for sure. I agree. It interests me. And it's something I'm looking at, and it's something I've run up the flag a couple times, or flagpole a couple times, and just figuring it all out in my head, number one. Number two, you got to make sure that there are enough people. And you have to find people that would fit. Like, personally, I wouldn't enjoy that, but it would force people to collaborate. Yeah, and the challenge is that you become part of a diverse team. And at our grade level, in college, we should be able to get past that K through 12 mentality of what group work is and truly have teamwork. And we should be able to do it in a virtual environment. So, do we have it where you have a lab night scheduled where everybody shows up on lab night and you just work? That might be an option. Different things like that, where we literally have one class a week or something where people like get together, and then everything else for the rest of the week is done through collaboration and stuff like that. Just different thoughts, different ideas. I always bounce stuff off of people because it gives me more ideas, or it gets rid of some of my ideas if it's just not something that would work. Another thing about that isn't just necessarily the technology-based majors, but what if we had a student in the entrepreneurship program that wanted to create an application or a website or a web portal or something like that? Why couldn't our students actually create that for him? Because he's going to pitch it. That's part of his program, is that he has to pitch it, right? So you have this wonderful idea, now let's pitch that idea. Okay, well, now you've pitched it. Let's actually develop it. What do you guys think of that one? Where you work with a different department, different major altogether. IT gets to tell a lot of people what to do. So that's just out there, take it with a grain of salt or whatever. Gives you an idea of how my brain works, a little more so. So any questions at all about any of this stuff? I already asked that once, and I saw all set or no a few times, so that's good. Does everyone feel confident that they understand what I'm asking for? Do I have to give any clarification on what part 3 of the project is? Yes was before that last question. Yes, I am going to post this in YouTube. And I should get it out there rather soon. All good on your end? Okay. Who was it that I had to talk to tonight? Is that Jalen? Jalen, did you still need to talk to me? Or was that Jessica? Okay. Who's chilling? I'm chilling? Who is chilling? You're saying you're chilling? Is that like a screen name? Hey, I'm chilling. I don't get it. You guys and your talk. You, I thought I was pretty up on things. Now I just feel old. I don't want to Google it. I am chillin'. I know what chillin' means. I'm being sarcastic. I turned it into a dad joke. Who is chillin' if you're chillin'? You know, as in saying, I'm so and so. Well, oh, chillin' is a good song. Yeah, well, you know, I like songs. I love music. Anyway, um, if you're done with me, I'm done with you for the day. And if you have any questions or anything, then we'll get that squared away when you have them. If you've been trying to email me and stuff like that, you've probably noticed that I've been answering emails really quick lately, and that was because of the changes that were taking place in cybersecurity and stuff like that. I will be slowing down because things are calming down a little bit, so it gives me a chance to sit back and breathe a little. I have some graduate students that are um, in need a lot, and I'm going to sit back and just slow down a little bit. Yeah, good thing I didn't have any of those courses this semester. Yeah, well, I don't know. I did find out I had for people that are in that class or those classes, the one thing I did find out is that I had talked to other professors and stuff like that, and everything that you guys did do was in line with what you should have been doing. So that should make you feel better. Okay. Um, that you're in line. Now, some of you have said, you know, well, I wish I could go into this deeper and all this other stuff. Well, I'm trying to figure out how I can set these courses to be longer, like out in Cisco and Palo Alto, to create them where they're longer so you can go out there and do them on your own, like after you leave the class or whatever, because there's not enough time to go out there and like finish that stuff for people. But if it's something that you want to finish, just let me know because I can create a new course just for you and let you go through all of that stuff. So, you know, keep that in mind. Um, but aside from that, no. And the person that's replacing the cybersecurity professor, I sent you guys a message and showed basically what the qualifications this person has are and stuff, and they're gung ho. They're ready to make sure you get value out of the last few weeks of class because the stuff that you did get already has value, and just want to finish strong too. So, okay. You guys are so quiet. If I'm rambling about something that you don't care about, what in the heck is that? I don't get it. What is that? A car? A train? That's a gorilla? I guess I can see it. Huh. That's a gorilla? That does not look like. I don't even know how you make a gorilla on this thing. How do you find this stuff? I can send this, for instance. The heck? Why can't I get it to do it? Let's see. I want to send this. Why do they show it to you in color if you can't actually show it? Worst icons ever. So anyway, if you don't have any questions, I'm done with you this week. I will be here next week, same bat time, same bat channel. If you have questions at that point, you can ask. The due date's already set on there. The points are already set. You're welcome. You have a good night as well. And that was an airplane. Anyway, so if you want to stick around and just shoot some stuff back and forth, we can do that too. Okay? I know they're awful. Peace. Okay. So, anyway, I'll be here next week. Kayla, are you still there? Nope. Kayla left. Alvarita, see ya. Alvarita, you all set? Bye-bye.